Have you ever felt that burning sensation when urinating, as if there were fire inside your bladder? Or that unbearable urge to rush to the bathroom every 5 minutes, only to discover that only a few painful drops come out? If you've been through this, you know that a urinary tract infection is not just a minor inconvenience. It steals your sleep, robs your peace, and in many cases, even shakes your self-esteem. Now, imagine discovering that a common food, present in the daily routine of millions of people, especially the elderly, might actually be fueling this silent and cruel problem. Shocking, isn't it? Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. And before you think about closing this video, believing you've already heard everything about urinary tract infections, let me tell you this. Here, you're going to clearly understand how a simple dietary habit might be sabotaging your urinary health without you even realizing. I'll show you why this food increases the risk of new flare-ups, how it acts inside your body, and most importantly, what paths you can take to protect your bladder and free yourself from this recurring pain. But I need your help. For YouTube to deliver this content to more people who suffer just like you, write in the comments the phrase, "I want urinary health." This shows that you are committed to taking care of your body and also helps thousands of other people who live with the same problem. So stay with me until the end. Because in addition to revealing which sneaky food this is, I'll also share simple and effective strategies to strengthen your urinary health, prevent recurring infections, and reclaim the peace that painful urination insists on taking away. Before diving deep into the topic, let me ask you something very important. We have a goal of reaching 1,000 subscribers here on the channel, and your help is essential to get there. If you're not subscribed yet, click the red button now and activate the bell. And I also need at least 100 comments so YouTube can deliver this video to more people suffering from urinary infections. So, right down below, I want to get rid of urinary infection. This simple gesture can change the reach of this message and help many people who today are suffering in silence. Now, let's understand why this subject is so serious. A urinary infection is not just a passing problem. It is one of the most common illnesses among the elderly, and it can repeat itself several times throughout the year. Many people think it's just a matter of taking an antibiotic and that's it, but reality is quite different. Each flare-up wears down the body, weakens immunity, and in more severe cases, can even lead to hospitalization. And do you know what's most concerning? It's that recurring urinary infections destroy quality of life. The pain, the fear of leaving the house without a bathroom nearby, the sleepless nights, all of this slowly takes away the joy of living. And the worst part? Many don't even suspect that such a common food may be intensifying this risk. That's why you need to watch this video until the end. Because understanding what causes it, what worsens it, and how to avoid this cycle is the key to restoring your urinary health and going back to living without the fear of the next flare-up. Have you ever noticed how often we make daily choices thinking we are taking care of our health, but in practice, we are actually feeding the very problem we want to avoid? That's right. When it comes to urinary infections, there is an apparently harmless food present on the tables of thousands of families that may be silently increasing the risk of new flare-up, especially among the elderly. And here's the intriguing part. This food is not rare, expensive, or exotic. On the contrary, it's so common that it's probably sitting in your fridge or even on your plate in your next meal. And do you know what's even more shocking? Often, even doctors don't emphasize the direct impact that excessive consumption of it can have on urinary health. And that's where the danger lies. Because it's seen as normal, people consume it without restraint, without realizing that they are, little by little, irritating the bladder, encouraging bacterial growth, and in some cases, even weakening the body's natural defenses. It's as if you were preparing the perfect ground for urinary infection to come back 1, 2, even 3 times a year. But I'm not going to reveal just yet which food. I want you to stick with me, because understanding the why before the what is essential. Only then will you see clearly that the problem is not just in the food itself, but in how it acts inside the body and the devastating impact it can have on the lives of those with a history of recurring urinary infection. To understand why a simple food can increase the risk of urinary infection, we need to take a step back and look inside the body in a simple and practical way. The urinary system works like a real filter. The kidneys clean the blood, turn impurities into urine, and the bladder stores this liquid until it's time to eliminate it. It sounds like a simple process, but when any part of this mechanism weakens, the result is an open invitation for bacteria to attack. In the elderly, this vulnerability is even greater. First, because the immune system no longer responds with the same strength as before. This means that even a small amount of bacteria, which in younger people could be easily fought off, has a much easier time settling in and multiplying. In addition, the bladder lining becomes more sensitive over the years, and any irritation, whether from lack of hydration, medications, or even food, can already open the door to infection. Another important point is that many elderly people take medication daily, and some of these drugs alter the balance of intestinal and urinary flora, leaving the body even more exposed. And this is exactly where the role of food comes in. When we consume something that disrupts the pH balance of urine, increases acidity too much, or irritates the bladder wall, the perfect ground for infection is created. In other words, it's not just about bad luck or age. There's a clear logic behind the increase in urinary infections, and ignoring these signs only makes them return stronger and more frequent. And in the case of the food we are about to reveal, its impact on this balance is much greater than you might imagine. The moment you've been waiting for has arrived. So, what is this common food that may be increasing the risk of urinary infections, especially in the elderly? The answer may surprise a lot of people. We're talking about refined sugar and all the foods and drinks that contain it in excess, such as sodas, sweets, cakes, and even that coffee sweetened several times a day. Sugar is seen by many as just a simple detail of the diet, but in reality, it acts as real fuel for the bacteria that cause urinary infection. When consumed in excess, it alters the balance of the body's natural flora, encourages the growth of harmful microorganisms, and also weakens the immune system. In other words, instead of protecting the bladder, sugar opens the doors for infection to appear and return more and more frequently. And there's more. In the elderly, the risk is even greater because the body already has more difficulty metabolizing glucose. This means that even small amounts can cause a disproportionate impact on urinary health. It's no coincidence that many people report recurrent urinary infections without realizing that the real culprit was on their plate every day. Of course, this doesn't mean you'll never be able to eat anything sweet again, but it's important to be aware that excess sugar irritates the bladder, changes the urine's pH, and creates the perfect environment for bacteria to multiply. This explains why, even after using antibiotics, many people continue to have infections shortly after, because their eating habits continue to fuel the problem. Now that you know who the hidden enemy is, the next step is to talk about the scientific evidence linking sugar consumption to urinary infections so that you understand this is not just an opinion, but something already confirmed by medical research. Many people might think, isn't this an exaggeration? Does sugar really have a connection with urinary infections? The truth is that science has already shown, in several studies, that there is indeed a direct link. Research indicates that high levels of glucose in the body create the perfect environment for bacterial growth, especially Escherichia coli, which is responsible for most urinary tract infections. In the elderly, this risk multiplies. First, because glucose metabolism doesn't work as well anymore, which means sugar circulates longer in the blood and can reach the urinary tract with greater intensity. In addition, medical studies show that people with diets rich in simple sugars have a higher recurrence of infections, both urinary and intestinal, precisely because of the impact that sugar has on natural flora. Another important point is the relationship with immunity. Frequent sugar consumption reduces the efficiency of defense cells, weakening the body's natural barrier against bacteria. In other words, the more sugar, the less protection. These pieces of evidence make it clear that we are not talking about a small, insignificant detail, but about a decisive factor for anyone who wants to break free from repetitive urinary infection flare-ups. Many times, the symptoms of urinary infection appear so subtly that they end up being mistaken for other things, and this only makes the problem worse over time. The first warning sign is the constant urge to urinate, even if only a few drops come out. This symptom is classic and indicates that the bladder is irritated. Another sign is the burning sensation when urinating, that stinging feeling, as if there were fire inside the urinary tract. Also, be alert for cloudy urine, strong odor, or even blood, which are clear signs that something is not right. In the elderly, it is also common for different symptoms to appear, such as mental confusion, sudden weakness, and even a low fever, which are often attributed to aging, but may actually be a direct reflection of a urinary infection developing. This is precisely why so many people delay seeking help and end up facing serious complications. If you consume a lot of sugar daily and notice these signs occurring repeatedly, this may be an indication that it's time to rethink your eating habit. The body always gives warnings when something is not right, and ignoring these alerts only opens more room for infection to take hold again. If sugar is one of the big villains for those who suffer from urinary infection, the good news is that there are simple and safe alternatives that can transform your eating habits and protect your bladder. The first step is to reduce the consumption of industrial sweets, sodas, and desserts loaded with refined sugar. This alone already makes a huge difference in the balance of urinary flora. But it's not enough to just cut things out. It's important to replace them with smart choices. A great option is fresh fruit, which, in addition to providing a naturally sweet flavor, offers fiber, vitamins, and antioxidants that strengthen the immune system. Cranberries, for example, are well known for helping prevent bacteria from sticking to the bladder wall, reducing the chances of infection. Another alternative is to sweeten coffee or tea with stevia or xylitol, which do not have the same negative impact as refined sugar. And of course, we can't forget hydration. Drinking plenty of water throughout the day is one of the most effective ways to cleanse the bladder and prevent bacteria from multiplying. In addition, including foods rich in vitamin C, such as oranges, kiwis, and acerola, helps strengthen immunity and modify the pH of urine, creating an environment less favorable to bacterial growth. Small changes, when applied every day, can break the cycle of recurring infection. Up to this point, you already understand the role of food in urinary infection, but the truth is that prevention goes far beyond what we put on our plate. Small daily habits can make all the difference in keeping your urinary health protected and ensuring a lighter life without constant flare-ups. The first habit is proper hydration. Drinking water regularly helps wash the urinary tract, dilutes urine, and makes it harder for bacteria to proliferate. Think of it as a daily internal cleaning. The more water you drink, the cleaner your bladder stays. Another essential point is not holding your urine for too long. This habit, common among elderly people or those who have difficulty accessing bathrooms, favors bacterial multiplication. The ideal is to empty the bladder whenever you feel the urge. Intimate hygiene also deserves attention. Maintaining proper care, without exaggeration and without aggressive products, protects the natural flora of the area and prevents imbalances that open the door to infection. For women, special attention. Always clean from front to back to prevent intestinal bacteria from reaching the urethra. And of course, regular medical checkups are essential. Many times, subtle symptoms may be hiding something more serious, and only professional monitoring ensures the necessary safety. With these habits, combined with reducing sugar and following a diet rich in vitamins and hydration, it is possible to restore not only bladder health, but also daily peace of mind. Now you know that very common food, refined sugar and its derivatives, could be behind your recurring urinary infections. And it's no exaggeration to say that by reducing this villain, you're already taking a huge step toward regaining your urinary health, protecting your bladder, and living more peacefully, without fear of the next pain or desperate run to the bathroom. But remember, information without action changes nothing. If you made it this far, It's because you truly care about your health. So put into practice the tips I've shared today. Cut back on sugar, increase hydration, take care of intimate hygiene, and adopt habits that strengthen your natural defenses. Your body will thank you, and you'll feel the 60 difference in your daily life. And now I want to ask you two things. First, leave a like on this video. This simple gesture shows YouTube that this content is valuable and helps spread this message to thousands of people who also suffer from urinary infections. Second, don't leave just yet. Click on the video that's appearing on your screen right now. I've prepared special content that will complement what you've learned today and give you a new perspective on your health. I won't give you spoilers, but I can guarantee you this. If you've made it this far, the next video is exactly what you need to keep going on this path of transformation. So click now, and I'll see you there.